The message arrived on a Tuesday. Commander Alan Wright sat at his station aboard the Alliance ship Harbinger. His eyes were fixed on the screen in front of him. After 30 years of sending signals into space, humans had finally gotten an answer. Alan's heart beat faster, but his face stayed calm. He pressed a button on his desk. "Captain Liz Parker to the bridge," he said. Minutes later, Captain Parker walked in. She was not tall, but she moved like someone used to being in charge. Her gray hair was cut short, and her blue uniform was perfect. Though she was younger than most captains, everyone respected her. "What is it, Commander?" she asked, walking to his desk. "We got a message, Captain. It's not from humans." Everyone on the bridge stopped talking. They all watched as Alan played. The message, it wasn't words. It was a series of math patterns, then pictures of stars. The last picture showed their own solar system. "They know where we are," said Paul Green, who worked with communications. Susan Miller, the science officer, moved her fingers quickly over her screen. "Based on these numbers, they will reach Earth in about 3 months. Captain Parker stood up straight. Her face gave away nothing. "Tell Alliance Command, we're going home." The Harbinger changed course for Earth. None of them knew that this first contact with aliens would lead to the most important message Earth would ever send. Back on Earth, people went about their normal lives. Some looked up at the stars and wondered if humans were alone in the universe. Soon, they would have their answer. Dr. Ben Harris worked at the big radio telescope in New Mexico. For 20 years, he had listened for signals from space. Most people thought he was wasting his time, but Ben believed. The call came at midnight. "Dr. Harris, the Harbinger has picked up a signal. It's what we've been waiting for." Ben drove to the telescope so fast he nearly crashed twice. When he got there, his team was already busy. Screens showed data coming in from the Harbinger. "Is it real?" he asked Jane Foster, his assistant. Jane nodded, her eyes wide. "It's real, Ben, and they're coming here." Over the next weeks, the world changed. At first, governments tried to keep the news quiet. But soon everyone knew. Aliens had answered humanity's calls and they were on their way to Earth. Some people were scared. Others were excited. Churches filled with those seeking answers. Some built bunkers and stored food. Others had parties to welcome the visitors. "We should be careful," said Admiral John Cooper at a meeting of world leaders. "We know nothing about them or why they're coming. But this could be the greatest moment in human history," argued Dr. Harris, who had been asked to join the meeting. "A chance to learn, to grow, to join a larger community of intelligent beings." President George Williams listened to both sides. Finally, he said, "We will prepare for all possibilities. Our military will be ready, but we will greet these visitors with open minds." The Harbinger reached Earth and joined the growing fleet of ships in orbit. Every nation had sent up whatever they had. Warships, science vessels, old space stations being used as observation posts. Captain Parker reported directly to Alliance Command in Washington. "The message contains no threats," she explained, "but also no clear statement of their purpose." "Can we stop them if we need to?" asked Secretary of Defense Maria Wilson. Captain Parker looked at her hands, then back up. "No. If the data from their message is correct, their ships move faster than anything we have. Their energy readings are off our charts. If they want to harm us, I don't think we can stop them." The room grew quiet. "Then we'd better hope they're friendly," said President Williams. As the day of arrival grew closer, strange things began to happen. All over Earth, electronic devices turned on by themselves. TVs, phones, computers, all showed the same image, a countdown. Alan Wright was with his family in Colorado when it happened. His kids called him to the living room. The TV was on, showing numbers counting down. "Dad, what is it?" asked his daughter Kelly. "It's them," he said. "They're letting us know when they'll arrive." The countdown showed 3 days. World leaders tried to calm people, but fear spread. Some cities emptied as people fled to the countryside. Others saw riots and looting. Many just waited and watched the sky. On the final day, billions of people looked up. Some with fear, some with hope, most with simple wonder. The ships appeared just as the countdown reached 0. There was no flash of light, no thunder. One moment the sky was empty. The next it held 7 huge ships. Each one was shaped like a perfect black oval. They made no sound. They just hung there high above the planet. For hours nothing happened. The ships didn't move. They sent no messages. They just watched. Then, all electronic screens on Earth showed the same image. It was a face. At least people thought it was a face. It had eyes in places that didn't make sense. Its skin looked like metal and flesh mixed together. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move like a human's would. "People of Earth," it said in a voice that sounded like many voices speaking together. "We are the collective. We have received your invitations. We have studied your signals. We have come to meet you." In Washington, President Williams sat before a camera that would send his response to the ships and to screens around the world. "On behalf of all humanity, I welcome you to Earth," he said. "We are honored by your visit and eager to learn more about you." The alien face seemed to study him. "We will land in 3 of your hours. Prepare a meeting place. We have much to discuss." And just like that, everything changed. Humans were no longer alone in the universe. What none of them knew was that in less than 1 Earth month, they would send a final message to the stars. A message of defiance that would echo across the galaxy for centuries to come. The aliens landed just as they said they would. 3 hours after their message, a smaller black ship left the largest vessel and came down to Earth. It made no sound as it touched the ground in an open field near Washington. World leaders had picked this spot quickly. It was far enough from the city to be safe, but close enough for important people to get there fast. They built a simple meeting area with a large tent, tables, and chairs. Armed soldiers stood in a wide circle around the area, though everyone knew the guns would do little if the aliens wanted to cause harm. President George Williams stood at the front with leaders from other major countries. Behind them were scientists, language experts, and military advisors. Dr. Ben Harris was there too, his hands shaking with excitement. The door on the alien ship opened slowly. A ramp extended to the ground. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then 3 tall figures walked out. Up close, the aliens were even stranger than they had looked on screens. They stood about 7 feet tall. Their bodies seemed partly made of flesh and partly of metal. Their faces had 4 eyes arranged in a pattern that made humans uncomfortable to look at. They moved with a smooth grace that reminded Ben of dancers. "Welcome to Earth," said President Williams, stepping forward. Dr. Olivia Reed, the world's best language expert, stood beside him. She had been working non-stop since the first message came, trying to understand the aliens' language. Now she repeated the welcome in what she hoped was their tongue. The middle alien tilted its head. When it spoke, the sound came from somewhere in its chest, not its mouth. "We understand your language," it said in perfect English. "We have studied your broadcasts for many years." President Williams nodded, trying to hide his surprise. "Then, you know we are a peaceful planet, eager to learn and share knowledge." The alien made a movement that might have been a shrug. "We know you are a divided species with much conflict, but you have potential. I am observer. These are processor and collector." It pointed to the aliens beside it. "What brings you to Earth?" asked the president. "Evaluation," said observer. "The collective studies emerging intelligent species. We determine their place in the galactic community." Something about the way observer said this made Admiral John Cooper uncomfortable. He stood behind the president, watching carefully. "And how do you evaluate us?" asked Dr. Reed. "We must study your history, your science, your cultures, your conflicts. We must understand how you think, individually and as groups. This will take time." "Of course," said President Williams. "We are open books. We have prepared information for you to review. We hope this will be the beginning of a friendship between our peoples." Observer's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Friendship is a concept we understand. The process begins now." Over. The next 2 weeks, the aliens met with humans from all walks of life. They visited major cities, watched children in schools, observed factories and farms. They asked to see prisons and hospitals, military bases and places of worship. They studied art and music with the same careful attention they gave to weapons and power plants. Most strange was their interest in human conflicts. They asked for detailed records of wars, from ancient battles to modern terrorism. They wanted to understand why humans fought and how they made peace. "I don't like it," Admiral Cooper told Dr. Reed as they watched Observer interviewing a group of history professors. "They're learning all our weaknesses. Or they're trying to understand what makes us human," said Dr. Reed. "Violence is part of our story, but so is overcoming it." "Maybe," said Cooper. "But we're telling them everything about us, and we know almost nothing about them." This was true. When humans asked about the collective's homeworld or history, Observer would say only that such information was not relevant to the evaluation. When asked about their technology, the aliens would say it was beyond current human understanding. After 3 weeks, Observer requested a meeting with world leaders. In the same field where they had first landed, the aliens set up what looked like a viewing screen, but with no visible technology supporting it. Images hung in the air, showing Earth from space. "We have completed our initial study," said Observer. "The collective has made a preliminary judgment." The room grew tense. Even President Williams shifted in his seat. "And what is your judgment?" he asked. "Your species shows potential," said Observer. "You are creative, adaptable, and persistent, but you are inefficient. You waste resources fighting among yourselves. Your societies are poorly organized. Your technologies are damaging your planet." "We are aware of our flaws," said President Williams, "but we are working to overcome them." "Yes, this is why we offer guidance," said Observer. "The collective can help you advance. We can improve your technologies, heal your sick, feed your hungry. We can help you build a better society." Many leaders looked pleased at this. But Admiral Cooper noticed something. "And what do you want in return?" he asked. Observer turned all 4 eyes to him. "Integration," it said. "To receive our guidance, you must join the collective consciousness. Selected humans will receive neural interfaces. They will become part of our network. Through them, we will guide your species to its full potential." The room exploded in questions. Some leaders were excited by the offer. Others were instantly suspicious. "These interfaces," asked Dr. Reed, "would they change how people think?" "They would improve how people think," replied Observer. "They would remove inefficiencies. They would add the wisdom of the collective." "And if we decline your offer?" asked Admiral Cooper. Observer was silent for a moment. "That would be unwise. We have determined your species requires guidance. Those who accept will advance. Those who refuse will be left behind." In the days that followed, Earth's nations argued among themselves. Some countries, led by those with the worst problems of hunger and disease, quickly accepted the aliens' offer. The first integration centers were set up in their major cities, where volunteers received small metal devices attached to their temples. The reports from these early volunteers were amazing. They claimed to feel healthier, smarter, more at peace. "It's like having a million wise teachers in your head," one said. But others noticed something strange. All the integrated humans began to talk alike. They used the same phrases. They lost interest in things they had once loved. They became quiet, efficient workers who never complained and rarely showed emotion. "They're not being guided," Admiral Cooper told a secret meeting of military leaders. "They're being controlled." He wasn't the only one who saw this. Around the world, resistance to the collective's gift began to grow. Some countries closed their borders to the aliens. Protests broke out in cities. Observer called another meeting. This time its tone was different. "Your resistance is inefficient." It said, "Integration is not optional. It is necessary for your development. Those who continue to resist will be designated obstacles to progress." "Are you threatening us?" asked President Williams. "We are informing you of reality," said Observer. "The process has begun. It will not be stopped." That night the resistance began in earnest. and the real intentions of the collective finally became clear. That night, while most people slept, the collective made their move. In cities where integration centers had been set up, the aliens activated all the neural devices at once. People who had volunteered to receive them suddenly got out of bed. They walked to their doors like sleepwalkers. They went outside and began to gather in town squares and public parks. By morning, millions of integrated humans stood in silent groups across the globe. Then, as if someone had flipped a switch, they began to work. They entered government buildings, police stations, and military bases. They took control of power plants, water systems, and communication centers. They did not fight or argue. They simply walked in and took over. Those who tried to stop them found that weapons didn't work near the integrated humans. Guns wouldn't fire. Electricity shut off. President George Williams was woken at 3 a.m. with the news. By 4 a.m. he was in a bunker deep underground with what remained of his government. "How bad is it?" he asked Admiral Cooper. "Bad," said Cooper. "They've taken control of 20 major cities, almost all of Eastern Europe, most of Asia, parts of South America." How? How could they move so fast? Dr. Olivia Reed, who had been studying the collective's language and behavior, spoke up. "The neural interfaces. They're not just communication devices. They're control mechanisms. The collective can use them to override human will." "And they've been planning this from the start," added Cooper. "The evaluation was just a way to study our weaknesses." President Williams put his head in his hands. "How do we fight back? You've seen what happens when we try to use weapons against them." "Some kind of energy field," said Cooper. "It disrupts electricity, even chemical reactions. That's why guns don't work near them." "So what does work?" asked Williams. No one had an answer. Over the next few days, the situation grew worse. The integrated humans never rested. They worked day and night, following the collective's orders. They began to build strange towers that rose high above the cities. From these towers, a signal spread that could force neural interfaces onto nearby humans without their consent. The integration was spreading like a disease. Those who remained free fled to rural areas, mountains, deserts, anywhere far from the spreading signal. They formed resistance groups and tried to fight back, but they were outmatched. The collective's technology was too advanced. The integrated humans felt no pain, needed no sleep, and followed orders perfectly. A week after the takeover began, Dr. Reed made a discovery. She had been studying recordings of the collective's speech patterns, looking for anything that might help. "I think I found something," she told Cooper and Williams in their new hidden base in the Rocky Mountains. "There's a strange gap in their language, concepts they never discuss or seem to understand." "Like what?" asked Williams. "Paradox. Contradiction. The idea that two opposing things can both be true. They operate on pure logic. Everything must fit neatly into categories." Cooper frowned. "That's interesting, but how does it help us?" "I'm not sure yet," said Reed, "but it's the first weakness we've found." Just then, Ben Harris burst into the room. The scientist had escaped from his lab when the takeover began, bringing valuable research data with him. "You need to see this," he said, laying out a series of papers. "I've been analyzing the neural interfaces we recovered from people who didn't survive the forced integration." They all knew what he meant. Some people had fought so hard against the integration that their bodies had shut down. "The interfaces work by linking human brains to the collective's central consciousness," Harris explained. "But the link goes both ways. The collective processes everything experienced by the integrated humans. It's how they learn so fast." "So, they're vulnerable to what the integrated humans experience?" asked Reed, her mind racing. "Exactly," said Harris. "If we could somehow feed the collective a concept it can't process, like one of your paradoxes, it might disrupt the entire network." For the first time in days, hope flickered in the room. "Let's get to work," said President Williams. While the resistance plotted, the collective continued its takeover. By the end of the second week, more than half the world's population had been integrated. The aliens began to reshape Earth itself. They built massive structures whose purposes humans couldn't understand. They drained lakes and redirected rivers to serve their needs. They seemed to be turning Earth into something else, a node in their interstellar network. Observer, the alien who had first spoken to humanity, appeared on all working screens around the world. Its message was simple. Resistance is inefficient. Integration is inevitable. Those who continue to resist will be removed. In the mountain base, the resistance fighters watched this message with grim faces. But they had made progress. Dr. Reed and Ben Harris had created what they called a cognitive virus, a series of paradoxical concepts wrapped in mathematical formulas that they believed would confuse and possibly disable the collective's processing systems. "We've written it as both an audio message and a digital code," explained Harris. "But we need to get it into their main system, and we need to broadcast it to all the integrated humans at once." "The towers," said Cooper. "They use the towers to maintain control of the integrated humans. If we could take control of just one, we'd need to get past the energy fields that shut down our technology," Williams pointed out. "I think I have a solution for that," said Harris. "The fields only affect certain types of energy. If we use old technology, mechanical systems rather, then electronic ones, they might work." Cooper nodded slowly. "Like old radios, wind-up devices, spring-loaded mechanisms." "Exactly," said Harris. "We go in with technology from 100 years ago, and we might just have a chance." They began to plan their attack. They would need to infiltrate one of the collective's control centers. They would need to upload the cognitive virus into the system, and they would need to broadcast it through the towers to reach all the integrated humans at once. "It's a long shot," said Cooper. "It's our only shot," replied Williams. "Who's going?" Cooper straightened his back. "I'll lead the team." Reed raised her hand. "I need to go too. The virus might need adjustments based on what we find." Williams looked at them both, then nodded. "We'll create a diversion to draw attention away from your target. When do we move?" "Tomorrow night," said Cooper. "Any longer, and there might not be enough free humans left to make a difference." As they prepared for their mission, none of them knew that this would lead to the final transmission from Earth, a message that would echo across the stars long after they were gone. The next night, the Resistance put their plan into action. Their target was a control tower in what used to be Denver. This tower was smaller than others, with fewer integrated humans guarding it. Their best chance, Cooper had said. They gathered their equipment, old radios with vacuum tubes instead of chips, wind-up watches to keep time, spring-powered weapons that didn't need electricity or gunpowder. Dr. Reed carried the cognitive virus on a simple tape recorder, the kind people had, used decades ago. "Remember," President Williams told them before they left, "even if you succeed, we don't know exactly what will happen. The collective might have backup systems. They might fight back in ways we haven't seen yet." "We understand the risks," said Cooper, "but we're out of options and out of time." Their group was small, just 12 people. Cooper led them. Dr. Reed and Ben Harris came to handle the virus. The others were soldiers and engineers who had volunteered despite knowing they might not return. They left the mountain base at midnight in old diesel trucks that had been modified to run without electronic parts. The drive took 3 hours. They stayed on back roads, avoiding cities and towns where the integration signal was strongest. As they approached Denver, they could see the tower rising above the city. It was a strange sight, a black spiral reaching up nearly 1,000 feet, with pulsing blue lights running through it like veins. "That's where we need to go," said Cooper, pointing to a small building at the base of the tower. "That's the control center." They parked the trucks in an abandoned warehouse 2 miles from the target. From there, they would go on foot. Walking through the empty streets was eerie. Denver had once been home to over 1 million people. Now it was silent except for the occasional group of integrated humans marching on some mission for the collective. "They move like robots," whispered Harris as they ducked behind a building to avoid one such group. "They're not robots," Reed reminded him. "They're people who have been taken over. If our plan works, we might save them." They reached the edge of the zone around the tower where the energy field was strongest. Here, no modern electronics would work. The team switched to their mechanical equipment. "Communication from here on is by hand signals only," said Cooper. "Stay low, stay quiet, and stay together." As they moved closer to the tower, they began to see more integrated humans. These ones stood still, like guards. Their eyes glowed faintly. Blue in the darkness, a side effect of the neural interfaces. Cooper signaled for the team to split up. Half would create a diversion on the west side of the building. The other half, including Cooper, Reed, and Harris, would use that distraction to enter from the east. The diversion team moved into position. On Cooper's signal, they used their spring-powered launchers to fire smoke bombs. As the area filled with thick smoke, they added noisemakers, simple mechanical devices that created loud sounds without electricity. The response was immediate. The integrated humans near the smoke moved toward it with that same eerie coordination. Meanwhile, Cooper led his team toward the east entrance. They expected to find it locked, but were surprised when the door opened easily. Inside, the building was strangely empty. The walls were covered with the same black material as the tower and alien ships. Blue lights pulsed along pathways in the floor and ceiling. "Where is everyone?" whispered Harris. "They don't need many humans to run this," said Reed. "The collective does most of the work." Cooper pointed to a central chamber visible through a doorway. Inside was what looked like a control panel, though it had no buttons or screens, just smooth black surfaces, with those same blue lights. "That must be it," he said. "Reed, Harris, you're up." As the two scientists moved toward the control panel, a voice spoke from all around them. "Your presence is unexpected." They froze. From a side door, Observer entered the room. The alien looked the same as before, its 4 eyes focused on the human intruders. "Your resistance is inefficient," it said. "You cannot stop integration." Cooper raised his mechanical pistol, but before he could fire, 2 integrated humans stepped from the shadows, behind Observer. Cooper recognized them. They were world leaders who had been taken during the first days of the invasion. "Don't shoot," said Reed. "Remember, they're still human." "Humanity is being improved," said Observer. "Why do you resist what will make you better?" "Because we want to choose our own path," said Cooper. "We don't want to be controlled." Observer's head tilted slightly. "Choice is inefficient. It leads to conflict, to waste. The collective eliminates these problems." "And eliminates what makes us human," said Reed. She had been slowly moving toward the control panel as they talked. "Our creativity comes from our conflicts, our mistakes, our differences." "A flawed perspective, B," said Observer. "But you will understand once integrated." Reed glanced at Cooper, who gave a small nod. It was time. As Reed lunged for the control panel, Cooper fired his weapon at the ceiling. The spring-loaded bolt hit a light fixture, which crashed down between Observer and the humans. In the confusion, Reed reached the panel and placed her tape recorder against its surface. Harris joined her, using a manual tool to open a section of the panel revealing alien circuitry beneath. "Hurry," shouted Cooper, who was holding off the integrated humans. Without pain or fear, they kept coming despite his shots. Reed connected wires from the tape recorder to the alien circuits. Harris turned a hand crank that powered the device. The tape began to play, sending the cognitive virus into the collective's systems. At first, nothing happened. Then Observer made a sound none of them had heard before, something like a mechanical screech. The integrated humans stopped moving. The blue lights in the building flickered. "It's working," said Harris. But then the light stabilized. Observer straightened, its 4 eyes focusing again. "Your attempt to disrupt our systems has failed," it said. "The collective cannot be defeated by primitive means." Reed's face fell. Their best hope, their only plan, had failed. "Now you will. Join us," said Observer, moving toward them. Suddenly a new voice came over their old radio. It was faint but clear. "President Williams, Cooper, Reed, get out of there. We've detected energy buildups in all the alien ships. They're preparing to do something big." Cooper looked at the others. "We need to go. Now." As they turned to flee, Observer spoke again. "It is too late. Your resistance has been noted. The collective has determined that Earth is too unstable for standard integration. A more direct method will be used. What does that mean? Demanded Cooper. Your planet will be cleansed and repurposed. The few surviving humans will be fully rebuilt, not merely integrated. The meaning was clear. The collective had decided to wipe out most of humanity and start over with the survivors. We need to warn everyone, said Reed as they ran from the building. And we need a new plan. Behind them, the tower's blue lights turned red. Above, the 7 great ships of the collective began to move, positioning themselves around the planet. The final confrontation was about to begin. Cooper, Reed, and Harris made it back to their trucks just as the sky began to change color. The 7 collective ships had moved into a pattern above Earth. From each one, a beam of red light now reached down, touching different points on the planet. What are they doing? Asked Harris as they drove back toward the mountain base. Observers said they were going to cleanse the planet, said Reed, her voice shaking. I think they're preparing to destroy most of our cities. But why? Just because we resisted? Cooper kept his eyes on the road, but his knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I think it's more than that, said Reed. Our cognitive virus didn't shut down their systems, but it did something. Did you see Observer when we first played it? It reacted. The collective felt it. So they're afraid of us, said Harris. Afraid of what we might do if we found a way to really hurt them. They're not taking chances, agreed Cooper. They've decided we're too dangerous to keep around. They reached the mountain base as dawn broke. Inside, the mood was grim. Satellite images showed red beams from the collective ships touching down on major cities around the world. So far, nothing had happened, but everyone knew it was just a matter of time. President Williams called them into the main control room. Report, he said. Cooper told him everything. Their failed attempt to upload the virus, Observer's words, the ships moving into position. Williams listened without interrupting. When Cooper finished, he asked, So the virus did have some effect? Yeah, small one, said Reed. But not enough. What if it wasn't small? Asked Harris suddenly. What if the reason they're moving to destroy us is that they really are vulnerable to what we tried? Everyone looked at him. Think about it, he continued. If we were no threat at all, why not just continue with their original plan? Why the sudden need to cleanse the planet? He's right, said Reed, excitement growing in her voice. They're overreacting because they are vulnerable. The virus affected them more than Observer admitted. But it still didn't work, said Cooper. We'd need a much stronger version, and we'd need to deliver it to all 7 ships at once. And we'd need to get past their defenses, added Williams. They won't fall for the same trick twice. The room fell silent as everyone considered the impossible task before them. Then Reed spoke up. What about the integrated humans? Could we use them? Use them how? Asked Cooper. The neural interfaces connect them to the collective, right? It's a two-way connection. What if we could reverse it? Send our virus through the integrated humans to the collective? Harris's eyes widened. That might work. If we could override just one interface, we might be able to use it to send the virus through the entire network. Can you do that? Asked. Williams, Dart, Reed, and Harris looked at each other. Maybe, said Harris, but we'd need an intact interface and an integrated human who's still alive. No one mentioned what they all knew, that this would be a suicide mission for whoever carried it out. I'll go, said Cooper before anyone could volunteer. I know the towers better than anyone now. I can get in again. Williams started to object, but Cooper cut him off. There's no time to argue. Those beams could fire any minute. Harris, Reed, get to work on the virus and the interface. I'll prepare to move out. For the next few hours, everyone worked frantically. Harris and Reed created a stronger version of the cognitive virus, one that contained not just paradoxes, but contradictions from human philosophy, religion, art, concepts the collective's pure logic couldn't process. Meanwhile, Cooper helped his team capture an integrated human from the edge of the city. They were as gentle as they could be. The person, a young man who had been a doctor before integration, didn't fight them. He simply stared with those glowing blue eyes, waiting for orders from the collective that were now blocked by the mountain's thick walls. By noon, everything was ready. The interface had been removed from the man, who would recover, Harris assured them, once the collective's control was broken. The virus had been loaded onto a device that could connect to the interface. Cooper had his equipment and a small team ready to go. "This is our last shot," said Williams, as they prepared to leave. "If this doesn't work—" He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Cooper nodded. "If we fail, send a message. Tell everyone to get underground. It's the only chance they'll have." Cooper's team made it to the tower faster this time, knowing the way and what to expect. The red beam from one of the collective ships now touched the top of the tower, making it glow ominously. Inside, everything was different. The control room was full of integrated humans, all standing still, their eyes glowing blue as they connected to the collective. In the center stood Observer. Cooper's team had no chance of sneaking in. The moment they entered, Observer turned to them. "Your persistence is noted," it said, "but it changes nothing. The cleansing begins in 20 of your minutes." "We know," said Cooper, stepping forward. "That's why I've come to surrender." This seemed to confuse Observer. Its head tilted. "Surrender is acceptance of integration. You have resisted this." "I was wrong," said Cooper, moving slowly toward Observer. "I've seen what's coming. I want to be part of the collective now." As he spoke, the rest of his team spread out, creating distractions with noise and movement. Cooper kept walking forward, until he was just a few feet from Observer. "Your sudden change is suspicious," said Observer. "It will be investigated after integration." "I understand," said Cooper. Then, moving faster than seemed possible, he lunged forward and pressed the device with the interface and virus against Observer's body. The effect was immediate and far beyond what any of them had expected. Observer made that screeching sound again, but this time it didn't stop. All around the room, the integrated humans began to shake. The blue lights turned purple, then red, then began to flicker wildly. Cooper held the device against Observer. Even as pain coursed through his body. The alien's outer shell was burning him, but he didn't let go. "Get out!" he shouted to his team. "Tell Williams it's working. Go!" Most of them ran, but one stayed, Dr. Reed. "I'm not leaving you," she said, moving to his side. Together they watched as Observer collapsed to the floor, still screeching. The integrated humans fell too, one by one, their neural interfaces failing. "The ships," said Cooper weakly, his strength fading. "Check the ships." Reed looked out a window and saw the 7 collective ships shuddering in the sky. The red beams flickered and died. One of the ships began to move erratically, then crashed into another. Both exploded in a flash of blue fire. "It's working," she said, tears in her eyes. "The virus is spreading through their whole network." Cooper nodded, satisfied. He knew he wouldn't leave this room alive. The device had fused to his hand, and the alien energy was burning through him. "Help me," he said to Reed. "One last thing." With her support, he staggered to the control panel. Using his free hand, he activated the tower's broadcast system, the same one the collective had used to control the integrated humans. "This is Admiral John Cooper of Earth," he began. His voice carried not just across the planet, but far into space by the alien's own technology. "To any sentient beings who receive this message, beware the collective." Despite his pain, his voice grew stronger as he continued. "They came to us offering help, but demanding control. We refused. We fought for our right to choose our own future, our own path." Around them, the tower began to shake as the control systems failed. Outside, the remaining collective ships were falling from the sky or fleeing into space. They could not understand paradox, could not accept that chaos and order, individuality and unity could exist together. This was their weakness. Cooper looked at Reed, then back at the broadcast panel. "To the collective, if any of you survive. You sought to eliminate what you saw as our flaws, our conflicts, our contradictions, our messy freedom. In doing so, you have doomed yourselves. For it is precisely these traits that make us adaptable, creative, and ultimately, survivors. Remember, Earth. As the tower began to collapse around them, Cooper sent his final message to the stars, a warning and a testament to humanity's defiance. On Earth, the integrated humans slowly woke as the collective's control faded. The neural interfaces fell, from their bodies useless now. The alien structures began to crumble. The war was over. Earth had won, though the cost had been high. Cooper and Reed never made it out of the tower, but their message continued to travel outward, reaching distant stars, a final transmission from Earth that would echo through the galaxy for centuries to come.